What's poppin'? What's poppin', y'all? Another video by Maven, the one and only Maven Huffman, my boy who won Tough Enough. Why quit wrestling? Let's find out.
2005 would be a
Oh,
date that would change the course of my life
hold on. My bad.
forever.
I'll always put the
That
caption
was
on
the
for y'all.
date the WWE released me from my contract, leading to me feeling bitter and quitting the wrestling industry.
A lot of reasons, though. A lot of reasons that he probably will admit. you know,
Take a ride, buckle up.
too much fame, too
and
fast.
I'll tell
as
you
they
all
say.
about it. When I say that the 5th of July 2005 caught me off guard.
Damn, the day after the
That's
Ford?
the understatement of the century. It was one of those instances, just like when I won Tough Enough, and I knew instantly and immediately my life would change and would never be the same again. Getting released from the WWE, I had that same gut feeling. I had that same initial, I wanted to throw up reaction. When I got that call from Johnny Ace, I immediately just had no clue what was next for me. And that was scary.
Okay.
Johnny immediately told me, Maven, you just weren't progressing well enough in the ring. And instead of taking a, how can I be better? How can I show them what they lost? I took a completely opposite approach.
Yeah.
And that was, I took the approach of, to hell with them.
Mm-hmm.
Let them do their
He thought
thing.
he was that. He
I'll
thought he
do
was
my
that
thing.
dude.
I don't need them for anything.
Come on,
Not
man.
only did I
And
not
no
want
WCW to
anything
go
do
fall back
with
on?
the WWE,
Ugh.
but at the time, I
Got
wanted
too big-headed,
nothing
man.
to do with wrestling as a whole. I immediately started getting hit up from independent promoters and different promotions asking, "Hey man, what's your rate to come work for us?" Nah, no thank you. Well, would you come do a signing? Nope, no thank you. But I did that not knowing what my next venture would be. I mentioned
should
in
have
a
kept
previous
his
video
name.
all about how I went into, how I
Should have kept his name,
fortunately got the
buzzing.
call
But
to join the cast of The Surreal Life. I thought,
real quick, if y'all don't know, y'all might be a little younger. At this time, this wasn't the independence that John Cena, CM Punk, Colt Cabana, Daniel Bryan. This ain't the independence that they made popular at this time. Oh my God, you're at, well, you guys don't know what the Fresno Fair is, but like you'll have Iron Sheik, R.I.P. at like the fairgrounds wrestling like a local guy, and he's hardly walking, and you know what I'm saying, like that. This is when the indies were bad. Jake the Snake was the headliner, and he was so zooted. You know what I mean? So this is when the indies were terrible until, and I hate to always bring this up, but until CM Punk and them made the indies popular. You know what I'm saying? And Daniel Bryan on them too, but I always just bring up CM Punk because he was kind of like the forerunner of it. But okay.
oh, now that I'm
Also, Maven was
now that I'm going off to Hollywood to
on
film
drugs.
this show, I won't have to wrestle again. I'm glad I'm not in the WWE, and it was all too easy to just not worry about and not consider, wrestling as a potential career moving forward. In essence, I was done with professional wrestling in my mind before the age of 30. And at the time, I thought that was the best thing for me. I thought, if they don't want me, I don't want them. I would find my hatred for wrestling at the time would be short-lived. Following my filming of The Surreal Life and following my time out in Los Angeles, I would be back at home, and the calls from independent promotions would continue, and guys would ask me, "Hey, you want to come out? You want to wrestle? You want to do this? You want to do that?" And then I got linked up with a gentleman who was starting almost like a house show or an untelevised show for TNA. And his name was Hermie Sadler. And Hermie was a good friend to a lot of the wrestlers that I worked with, being that Hermie's brother, Elliott Sadler, was a NASCAR racer.
Oh,
Those
nice.
guys were always at a lot of the WWE shows. And when Hermie decided he was going to start his wrestling promotion, and Jeff Jarrett was going to utilize it as almost like a TNA house show sort of environment. TNA, or Total Nonstop Action, which at the time was the second largest wrestling promotion in the world.
They had a chance to be
knew
big, bro.
This might be the
I'm gonna say it. If it wasn't for Jeff Jarrett being the way he is, thinking that his ish don't stink, and of course doing the dumbest decision in the planet Earth by bringing in Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff. TNA was done, and then of course you bring in Dixie, but that's later on down the line. But TNA was done before it started, bro. And they had AJ Styles and stuff like that, but just I hate Kevin Nash and them boys so much, man. Them boys just destroy companies. I don't get it. Is that shit fun to them? Is it fun destroying companies? Is that like a thing they get off on? Hella confusing, bro.
The opportunity.
Don't you want a place to go wrestle?
Back and dip my toe back into professional wrestling? The reasons being, one, I knew the guys I was going to be on the road with. I knew I could trust the names of Billy Gunn, the names of the Dudley Boys, guys like Jeff Jarrett, guys like Jeff Hardy, AJ Styles. These were the guys I wanted to be in the ring with. And I knew the money was going to be good. I knew that we were going to make, I knew that I could go and do shows that weren't too far from my house. And by not too far, usually on average, it was maybe a 2-hour drive from my house to shows.
Or Truth in 2002.
A couple $1,000s in a weekend. I still remember the first loop I did was with Billy Gunn. I wrestled Billy an entire, probably several weeks.
Wait, Maven's tatted like that?
Went out and had fun.
I didn't know that.
This was in late 2006, early 2007. So my love for professional wrestling was starting to come back inch by inch. But professional wrestling at the time was there to pay the bills. It was there to make some good money for doing a few days' work. But I still wasn't ready to jump back into a company. A lot of people always ask me why I never went to TNA. And to be perfectly honest, wrestling wasn't where I saw my future heading, but I was still extremely bitter, and I did not want to go through the pain of losing my true love again. So in 2008, when the opportunity to join HSN or the Home Shopping Network, when that presented itself,
real job,
I jumped at the opportunity. And round about the same time in 2008, after the ink was dry on my contract with the Home Shopping Network, I did actually have an opportunity to join WWE back in my lap. But as I mentioned in another video,
he should have took it that time.
Kindly balked.
He should have took it that time.
HSN provided the catalyst needed for me to leave wrestling where I thought it belonged, which was in my past and not a part of my future. I truly believed HSN was going to be where I probably spent the remainder of my career. And the day I loaded my truck up and moved down to Tampa, Florida, I didn't even take my wrestling gear with me. That's how done I was with wrestling.
Damn, you never lit a crib without the gear, they said.
I was never going to lace my boots up ever again. Once my career into HSN began, I saw the more I would think about wrestling and the more I would think about my time in the WWE, it would diminish, in month after month. But that still wouldn't stop people from bringing it up. In fact, my very first airing on HSN, one of my co-hosts brought out my actual wrestling action figure on air. To this day, I've only had one person ever recognize me from my time on HSN. Whereas if anybody recognizes me, it's from my time in wrestling, not on HSN. During my time in Tampa, I would find myself starting to engage and allow myself to think about the possibilities of going back. And that would be due to its simple geographical location. In St. Pete, where I lived, there was a bridge, and across that bridge was Tampa. And from my house, a short 20 to 25 minute drive into Tampa, you would hit an avenue called Dale Mabry. And on Dale Mabry Avenue was...
I joined the Old Spice Hair Rescue crew really to make a difference. I look around and see guys like this.
FCW, Florida Championship Wrestling. And at the time, FCW was the WWE's new developmental territory. That is where I ran into Pat Patterson. And
the first
Pat
intercontinental champion of the
that
world.
Still kind of
Love
haunts
you, Pat.
me to this
R.I.P.,
day.
man.
When Pat asked me if I ever thought about going back, I told him not at the time, not at the moment, because I have a career that I have a job and I need to make money, and that offended Pat. Pat was he didn't want to hear that. Pat wanted to, and he told me as much. He told me, you have to be in this business for the love, for the passion, and not for the money. And you know what? He's not wrong. I think what Pat was in essence telling me was there's a limited time that you have to do the wrestling business as a competitor, and if you don't
$2.99 gas, god damn,
is in your grasp.
Damn, did y'all
one
see
day
that?
You're gonna lose it, and
That was
I didn't
like $5
understand
here in
that
fucking
at 30.
California.
I
My
do
God.
understand it now. In 2012, another job would come to an abrupt end, and I've actually done a video all about my arrest and what led me to having to leave HSN. But in 2013 or 2014, I found myself working in the city in New York. I was probably at the lowest point of my life as an adult. Wrestling was probably the furthest thing from my mind at this time.
At that moment, you should have came back.
I hated people even recognizing me on the street. People would ask me, "Are you that wrestling? You that wrestler?" Man, it was hard to say yes sometimes. Therefore, at that point, wrestling was as far removed from my mind as possible. Until a fateful night. And by fate, by chance, Matt Cardona and Brian Myers would find their way into the bar I was actually working as a bouncer in this bar. Nothing brought him in. I didn't bring him in. I didn't know the guys at the time. And we exchanged numbers that night. And obviously, both the guys were, at the time, signed WWE talents. And I certainly didn't think anything was going to progress from that fateful meeting. But a few years later, it did. And when Brian Myers found himself outside of the WWE looking in, he was pretty heavy on the independent scene and someone who was always booked.
He's talking about Zack Ryder and everybody.
Shaking and making, getting things done. And he called me up and he told me, "I want to get you back in the ring." I told him, my gosh, it's been years. A, I don't think I'm any good anymore, and B, I don't even have wrestling gear. He assured me he would do all the work. By that, I mean take all the bumps. It would be a tag match, me and him versus Anthony Green, and I forget who the other person was. But that one weekend, that one match, reignited a spark. Anthony Green, the kid who I'd be wrestling, told me I was his favorite wrestler. Now, listen, whenever anybody tells me you were my favorite wrestler, they're doing it for one reason, and that's because I'm standing right in front of them. And I always correct them. I always say, no, I'm not. I'm not my favorite wrestler. So there's no chance in hell I'm your favorite wrestler. Well, Anthony Green, I actually was his favorite wrestler growing up. To see the
those guys on the indies, like I say, I know CM Punk loves Macho Man and all that stuff, but he swear he loves like Macho Man's brother Lenny Poffo and stuff like that, Junkyard Dog, and maybe Brooklyn Brawler. Like these are the independent dude's favorite wrestler, because you got to know wrestling to love wrestling to know the real wrestlers behind the scenes.
The action he had by having me there and me feeling like I'm not worth I'm not worth even being in the ring with you. Not gonna lie, it might have relit the spark a tiny bit. I would leave that weekend maybe not eyeballing a full-blown return, but definitely seeing a little bit of love coming back as the years would progress. And
a little spark will bring you back.
Not only rebuild my life, but to rebuild who I was as a person, I would find myself involved in a bit more wrestling. One show might lead to an interview, which might lead to a podcast, which might lead to another show, which ultimately led to me doing some indie shows routinely around the New Jersey area, and would help me reignite that passion, that love for wrestling. I would no longer find myself as the new and the tough enough kid. Rather, I would find myself, being the veteran, the guy who had been around.
Zilla. Nice.
Who
you probably was talking about his uncle or dad.
As, oh my gosh, I watched you when I was growing up. Something that still is not easy to hear. But my love for the business was back. And it's good to know that I can still contribute. It's good to know that I still have some value to give. And it's good to know that each and every week I'm able to provide that value to all of you here on this platform.
All right. What a good video, man. Shout out to Zack Ryder for bringing him back, man. That's what's up, bro. Man, I know he didn't have the love for it, but damn, I wish. And it's funny because in the 2000s, in the when he got offered the first time back, like in the 7s, 8s, and 9s or whatever, wrestling was hella dead, bro. He could have been the man, you know what I mean? And then when he got called back again in the 12s and 13s, it was even worse. That's when they had freaking Ryback and shit like that in there. Kane doing R-word stuff, you know what I'm saying? I forgot the girl's name, but you know what I'm saying? Weird shit like that, killing babies and whatnot. That was doing the most. But man, Maven, man, great video, man. I would love to meet this dude one day, man. Real talk. But all right, man. Give Maven a subscribe. Give your boy a subscribe. Damn, why I look hella ashy on here? All right, then, y'all.